Hi, my name is Marv. Welcome to this replay of the webinar that you might have missed or which you may be just coming to for the first time about how to let go of a narcissist. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Marv Curtis. I'm a trauma coach, and I specialize in helping people who are in or are leaving highly controlling or abusive relationships, particularly those where there's narcissistic abuse involved. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people, and hopefully I can shed some light on this for you too. So we're going to go through these 5 questions, and the first is, why do I still miss him or her even after everything that he or she did to me? There's 4 things that are going on. The first is what we call a trauma bond. This is the emotional attachment that you have with somebody who's probably hurting you or making you feel unsafe or neglected. This is a mistake your brain is making, and it's usually because something has happened to prime you to think that the chaos or the abuse you are receiving is familiar, and your body associates that familiarity with safety. The uncertainty that you experience in that relationship, not knowing whether they're coming or going, they love you, they hate you, they want you, that they don't want you, is this on-off flooding of your brain with those stress hormones of cortisol and adrenaline, or when you get approval, flooding it with dopamine. And these are very, very powerful hormones, which are neurochemicals, and the anticipation of those creates actually an addictive excitement. This is why a trauma bond is frequently called a love addiction. Codependency comes into play because as a highly sensitive person with a big heart, lots of compassion, you love helping other people. There's no one who needs love or help quite as much as a narcissist. And so you get into the framework of getting a little bit of a buzz or a little hit when you help them. Eventually that gets you kind of caught in a codependency type of relationship. The last is really true, and it's grief. So when you first get into a narcissistic relationship, the love bombing phase is very real. It feels as though they are the perfect mate for you, the perfect partner, and you have just an incredible sense of euphoria in the beginning days. But when the mask drops and they turn into the real person, the loss of the person that you fell in love with is very painful. But not only the loss of that person, but the hopes and dreams you had for a future with this person who seemed like the perfect one is also a subject of great grief. Now, the next one is, how do I stop obsessing over what went wrong? So it's important to realize that the biggest problem here is they are doing something to you that you would never do to them or anyone else. And so it just does not compute for you why this is happening. So you go over and over the experiences you've had. What did I do wrong? Is this my fault? Could I have done something different? Could I do more? If I loved them more, could they change? Is there something wrong with me? Am I not enough? And your brain wants closure. It wants to understand why these problems exist, and you've probably reached out with your partner over and over again to try and talk about this, and they won't do it because ultimately that means they're going to have accountability, which they will never do. So this process of trying to make sense of the past also triggers a survival mode response, and that gives you more triggers of emotion, more of these hormones, especially the stress hormones of cortisol, and to some degree the adrenaline. So it gets into this negative feedback loop. The more you worry about it, the more stressed out you get. The more stressed out you get, the more worried about it gets, and it just gets into almost a death spiral. It's important to realize that trauma of this kind, we think of this mostly as CPTSD or complex PTSD or similar symptoms to that, lives in your body, not just in your mind. So you experience this at an unconscious level. And even though logically you probably know, or you would be on this call, that there's something wrong and that you need to make a change, that does not translate into the emotional ability to leave or to change. And that's where you need a little bit of extra help. So the next question is, what if I'm the narcissist? So if you've been doing research and thinking that perhaps your partner's a narcissist, pretty good chance that they've figured that out and they've done the same kind of research. And of course, what they do is, instead of changing, they blame you. They accuse you of being the narcissist. And all of the things that they're doing, they're also going to accuse you of. So let's just understand what their personality traits are and notice that they are not yours. So narcissists generally have a tremendous ego, and they need approval, admiration, and validation, and they'll do almost anything to get it. They deeply care what other people think. You maybe not so much. You probably want other people to feel good, and you want to help them feel good, but you're not that concerned about what they think. The exception to that is you do want the approval of your partner. Now, there's a second part of narcissism. This is malignant narcissism, where sometimes they are antisocial. So ASPD stands for antisocial personality disorder. And these traits are where they become cold and heartless, and they will take advantage of you for their own gain and not think twice about it, not care. They can be incredibly charismatic and charming, and everyone else will think they're great while they're just really setting you up to take from you whatever it is they're getting from you. So that does not represent you. You would never do that. And since you are not any of these characteristics, you're not the narcissist. Now, you may mimic some of their bad behavior just out of defensiveness. That does not make you a narcissist. All right. How long does it take to break a trauma bond? If you're still in the relationship, most partners take many times of breaking up before they finally actually separate. And they'll come back over and over again to tell you whatever they can tell you need to hear in order for you to take them back. And I've had clients who can, break off the first time, and I've had clients who are still doing it after 50 breakups or more. So don't be surprised if you break up and get back together over and over again. And that's mostly because they're just incredibly good liars. Now, once you've left the relationship, how do you leave it emotionally? That's the hard part. So this can also take years. Even if you're still in the relationship and you're trying to break free emotionally or detach, this can take a long time. And that's because the experience of leaving a relationship is not just the logical choice. It's the emotional choice, that unconscious choice. And that is hard to do by yourself. You can't logic your way out of this. And so when you're trying to do it for yourself and you're just waiting for time to wear it out, that could take a while. Good news is, with help, we can take care of that and get you free of it, usually within about 30 days. All right. So the last question I frequently hear is, can I fix this on my own? And what that really means is, can I fix my partner? Can I get my partner to change? This hope that somehow they're going to get back to that person you fell in love with. And here's the bad news. You cannot fix or change them. They're happy being who they are. It's working. You're probably not the first that they've done this to, and you're probably not going to be the last. This is working for them. They don't want to change, no matter what they say, because they will change their behavior to get what they want from you over and over again. But when it comes right down to it, they don't change. Now, can we fix you? Yes, as we've already said, this is absolutely possible. The real question for you is, how long do you want to take? How hard do you want this to be? Let me show you how we do that. So I use a trauma bond detox coaching method. This is the same technique that's used and approved by the Veterans Administration for helping soldiers get over PTSD. So what we're really resolving for you is the effects of trauma that happen in a narcissistic relationship. And this is extremely effective, and it's been used worldwide, especially in war zones and disaster areas. It's very active right now in the Ukraine. So this is a known and documented process This emotional freedom techniques, or EFT tapping, has been tested and studied at least 200 times in 200 different experiments. So let's talk about how this actually works. So since you don't know me, you've never experienced this before, probably I want to walk you through how this process actually works. Our goal in this little demonstration I'm going to do is to restore you to a sense of safety and ultimately help you get to a point of indifference. For most narcissists, their weakness is indifference. They need you to care. And when you stop caring, they will go and look for their help or whatever their supply is that they need from someone else. And for your own safety and your well-being, indifference is basically your best place. Now, in the process of doing this, if you feel dysregulated or you feel overwhelmed, stop with the program. Cross your arms over your chest like this, start tapping, and just breathe slowly and deeply, and that will ground you and get you back to safety. Okay. Next. Here are the points that we're going to tap on. First is on the side of your hand. Second is with 3 fingers between your eyebrows. Then side of your eye where the bone turns, under your eye where the bone turns, under your nose, on your lip, on your chin, beneath your collarbone where you feel kind of a sensitive or tender spot, indentation, under your arm and down 4 fingers, and then on top of your head where you had a soft spot as a baby. Why do we tap in these places? Well, these are nerve endings, but you have a giant nerve that flows from your brain down to the rest of your body called the vagus nerve. This nerve is very powerful in regulating inflammation and your parasympathetic nervous response. These places that we're tapping are secondary stimulation points for that vagus nerve. That's why we tap on them. All right, so to get started, I want you to visualize a recent experience that you had with your partner that was abusive to you, that gave you emotional distress. It could be over the telephone, it could be a text, it could be a memory for that matter, or something that you experienced personally in real life. Now, I'm not looking for a whole day or the whole narrative, just looking for maybe a 15-minute experience or less that you could describe in one sentence. So once you've got that, I want you to imagine that experience and then feel in your body on a scale of 0 to 10 how distressed that makes you feel. 10 being very, very distressed, 0 being not distressed at all. The reason we're calibrating it this way is so that when we're finished with this demonstration, you can notice the difference, because I'll have you check it again and notice whether it's gone down or not. Okay, so having given you that setup, I want you to start tapping with me and repeat what I say after I say it, and I'd like you to repeat it out loud. The reason for doing it out loud is because the brain in your head, that logical brain, and the brain in your heart, that emotional brain, don't really talk to each other very well. It's the conscious and the unconscious. Speaking it helps them synchronize. So repeat after me. Even though part of me still feels pulled back to this drama, my body is trying to keep me safe, and I honor that part. Even though calm sometimes feels boring, I'm open to a new pattern where peace equals safety. Even though my nervous system got used to high drama, I'm ready to teach my body how to feel safe again. Even though I feel stress in my body, right here and right now, I'm safe. And I choose peace and understanding. Between the eyebrows, I'm letting my nervous system relax. side of the eye. I'm letting go of my survival response anxiety. Under your eye. I'm calming my heart and my body with each breath. Under your nose. I'm letting my breathing become slower and deeper. Chin. My body knows how to relax. I'm activating the healing part of my nervous system. And I'm allowing peace and stillness to return. Top of the head. I'm resetting. I'm restoring. And I'm rebalancing my nervous system. Now breathe deeply in through your nose. Take an extra breath. And slowly exhale with a hum. Good. Now just check with your body and notice, are you feeling better? So recalibrate from 0 to 10. That's it. Notice that it went down probably. Okay, so quickly, if this is working for you, if you feel like you could use some help, I want you to notice that if you go to my website, marvcurtiscoaching.com, there's a link to schedule a 20-minute clarity call to share your story. If this is the right time, we'll set something up. So check my website, you'll see that. You'll also see links for the coaching sessions. So I've got 3 different levels here. I have a weekly group coaching session. It's a half an hour each time. So for 4 weeks of a half-hour session as a group, it's $50. It's Mondays at 6 p.m. Mountain. There's a link for that. A private single session lasts an hour. It costs $200. We can put that at $40 a month. And there's a money-back guarantee. If for any reason that doesn't work for you, let me know. I'll give you your money back. Or for most people, it takes about 3 sessions to get really to the point of indifference. And instead of $600, it's $500 if you book a 3-session package. So I'd love to work with you. If you decide that you're interested in this, please check my website out. And I'd love to hear from you, either to have a clarity call or go ahead and book into that weekly group session. Thanks for listening.